Now there's a segment in the SUV world that is a little bit smaller. Now it's officially known as the CUV segment, crossover utility vehicle, but actually substitute that C word for compact. Now, hey, welcome to this edition of Road Warrior. I'm your host, Grant Roberson. Now this week we've actually dived inside one of these particular models, and that is the 2014 Hyundai Tucson. Now when we look at this vehicle, really from the outside, it's going to mirror a lot of the options out there on the road. And really what it comes down to is under the hood and what you get on the inside. Now from the exterior, the Tucson really mimics a lot of the vehicles out there, like the Ford Escape and Honda CR-V, all of which have really had a drastic kind of change from the outside. Now these crossover utility vehicles have really transformed the segment, because again, that bigger is better attitude is really being kind of replaced with the smaller look is the go-to choice, because of course when you go to a segment like this, you're really looking for fuel efficiency long before that extra cargo space. And the one thing you're going to notice in this segment is, even though it looks kind of maybe small from the outside, really on the inside, with the amount of headroom, decent leg room, it actually feels a little bit more cathedral than you'd expect. Now when you look at the overall measurements on this segment, basically they're going to measure in within mere inches of each other. Now this particular model is going to measure in about 173 inches overall with a 104-inch wheelbase, and that is to be expected. Now on the wheels on this particular model, they're 18-inch wheels, and we have pretty decent ground clearance. Now this model is in the standard front-wheel drive version, but it can come in all-wheel drive just the same. Now the advantage to the all-wheel drive, of course, is it's going to automatically detect any tire slippage and give you the grip at the four corners. Now this is the limited model, which is going to come with the bigger power plant under the hood, and more specifically that's a gas direct injection engine, 2.4 liter inline four cylinder. Now the best thing about GDI is going to give you a little bit better horsepower, but best of all, equip it with better fuel economy. Now by the numbers, it's going to be about 182 horses and 177 foot-pounds of torque. Now where you really get the best bang for your buck, of course, is at the fuel pump, averaging somewhere between 21 to 28 miles per gallon. Now this engine is coupled with a 6-speed automatic transmission with a manual-like mode. Now a lot of these vehicles come with intelligent systems, and Hyundai does it just the same, and it is the Blue Link. Now Blue Link allows you to use your smartphone and connect with the vehicle, whether you're right beside it or far away, and allows you to do basic services like unlocking the vehicle, in some cases remote start, but it also gives you a lot more key safety features, even stolen vehicle recovery. So it allows you really to connect and stay in touch with this vehicle, whether you're 2 feet away or miles apart. Now there's a couple things that don't hurt on this vehicle, and that is actually being lighter but having more horsepower compared to the competition. Now overall it weighs about 3,300 pounds, in some cases just a couple hundred pounds less than the other competition, but the best part is it has actually the best bang for your buck under the hood. Now another nice feature is being able to take this vehicle, even though it's small, into tight spots, and it's got one of the best turning radius, in some cases beating the competition by about 4 to 5 feet. Now the C stands for crossover, kind of that blend of sedan SUV, so you're getting the best of both worlds. But one thing they've done over the years is really get away from those straight, hard lines like you saw in the CR-V and the Ford Escape, really going with more of this sport-like design. Again, the blending of the sedan qualities. Now one evolution I really love is the proximity entry key system. Now that pretty much gets rid of the old traditional key and allows you to walk up to any vehicle that is equipped with it, press the button, and it's going to unlock. Now it helps with anytime you have things in your hand, and is the go-to choice, and really can be found on any economic ride all the way up to the premium. Now one nice feature when you start talking about CUVs is the combination, of course, passenger comfort and cargo space, and that is the example here on the Tucson. Now when you scroll around to the back, really has an easy lift gate that rises to the occasion, and the first thing you're going to notice is really this nice tonneau cover, really allow you to have security because you can hide in the items you have back here. Now one thing the CUV does better, of course, than the standard sedan that it's trying to mimic is the cargo space. Now this particular model, it's going to be about 25 cubic feet. That compared to your average sedan that's going to measure in about this side, really going to fall somewhere between 12 to 14 cubic feet. So anytime you go to a CUV, you're really adding cargo as a #1 important factor of going that route. Now, one thing you'll notice with CUVs is really interior comfort may vary depending on the model. Now, one thing I like about the Tucson is really this is where the bigger is better attitude and the emphasis for comfort. Now, on the inside, let's start with legroom because that's the biggest number, literally with about 42 inches of legroom up front. Now, when you go into the back, a lot of times it's going to get anemic and have a massive drop, but not the case here. It's going to be around about 38 inches. Plenty of room for about any size build. Now, this particular model is the limited and came with the optional 7.2 inch screen. Now, standard is going to be more of a 4 inch. Now, the one thing you'll notice right when you get to the screen, it is touch, and the only slight annoyance is this little safety feature that comes up every single time you get in the vehicle. Now, I've seen on other vehicles, and what eventually happens is it actually goes away, but not in this case. Until you actually agree, you're just going to see this and that's all. Once you get past that kind of nerve-wracking part of it, it has your typical touchscreen systems. Now, this is the next generation. It is a little bit simplified, and the only one slight drawback I couldn't find was setting the tone. I like to have a little bit more bass in my music, so I just couldn't find that feature real easy. Typically it's going to be right here, but it just wouldn't come up. After you go through a few menu settings, you'll eventually find it. Now, a nice feature you're going to find right on this particular model is the dual climate controls, allowing the front passengers really to dial in their comfort, really specifically right down to the temperature. Now, below that, you're going to find buttons for the heated seats. Now, of course, you're going to want connections with any of the latest devices, and they have that as well down below. That is the USB connection, the auxiliary jacks, and 2 power supplies. Now, a lot of vehicles are going to the digital displays, but they're pretty much keeping it straightforward here with the huge tachometer on the left and the speed on the right with a little bit of digital display in between. Now, if you scroll onto the steering wheel, you're going to notice the typical settings for your audio listening and your cruise control, pretty much standard operating procedure. Now, again, this vehicle comes with 6-speed automatic transmission, but one thing they did do for the manual-like mode is they kind of added a little boot, which kind of changed it up for a little bit of simplicity. Now, there is an eco button right here. That's going to give you a little bit more fuel efficiency-like mode, really for the city driver that's going to want better fuel economy than sport off the line. Now, this limited model did come with power adjustable seats, but one problem I found is that on this particular bar here, that's going to allow you to go forward and backwards, and typically going to allow you to raise the seat. Now, the one thing I noticed when you pull in this particular area, it's going to raise the seat up just fine, but it seems to feel like it's tilting forward. It wouldn't hurt if this front button here actually allowed it to undulate back just the same, allowing you to really dial in the comfort, something I typically find when you have controls just like this. Now, the cargo is great in the back, the passenger comfort's even better, but really having some storages near the driver doesn't hurt either. Now, there's a great deep console here, decent elbow support, even a sunglass holder up above, and they obviously have the typical glove compartment up here on the dash. Now, these little storage areas are really helpful for putting little niches. Even better, you got the dual cup holders here and some great holders for bottles right there in both doors. Now, getting a panoramic view typically is what you're going to look for forward, but when you look up, it doesn't hurt. Now, on this particular model, we're going to have the dual kind of sunroofs. Now, one is operational, kind of giving that kind of airflow you may be looking for. In the back, it's just going to be glass, give you a lot of light inside this cabin. Now, the backseat passengers are going to have just about as much comfort as the front, really only losing about 2 to 4 inches when you climb back here. Now, again, we talk about seat back design, and they've done quite well here. A lot of other vehicles are really giving a lot more arch. They've really just supplied kind of 2 niches for the knees, giving you just a little bit extra breathing room. Now, one thing they've really enhanced for 2014 is the ability to kind of dial in your comfort back here, kind of a theme we're going to find on this vehicle. And what I'm referring to is really the seat back, being able to recline just a little bit more. Really, before that, it's going to be more vertical. So without that kind of reclining, maybe you just don't find your comfort. Now, again, you can transition this over to cargo just the same. You simply pull this handle here, and it's going to tumble forward. Now, again, with all this space back here, really not having to deal with anything with headrests. They're going to fold flat and really more than double the space you have for cargo. Now, the Tucson's going to hold up to about 5 people, and that's going to be a tight squeeze typically in the CUV market, but really when you look at this back bench, this center area, it actually isn't that narrow. Now, one thing that's going to help with that is right down here on the floor where the old traditional hump is no longer. What you're going to find in this Tucson is a flat floor space, allowing people to put their feet right there, not like the old days where you had to put your feet on each side. That does it for this edition of Road Warrior and a test drive behind the wheel of the 2014 Hyundai Tucson. Now this is a CUV, the crossover utility vehicle, and it's going to downsize maybe your thought process of what a true SUV might be. Now again, this combines the best of both worlds from the sedan world and the SUV, allowing you to have that cargo space we talked about, the interior comfort, and not bad boot, scoot, and boogie under that hood. Now as always, keep both hands on the wheels, eyes straight ahead, and thanks for watching.